Hello and welcome to another Trekmate review. This week we're back to TNG and we're doing True Q. This is Season 6, Episode 6 and was first aired on 26th of October 1992. This was your choice this week, Wayne.
It was, yes. And the reason why I chose this is any listeners of our podcast may have heard ages ago in the past that this was one of the episodes on my very first VHS that I ever owned.
Oh, wow. Okay. Yeah, I must have heard that myself, but just forgotten that.
Yeah, so it's the very first VHS that I ever picked up. It had Schisms and True Q on. So this is an episode that I've watched many times, and I'm not sure if I hold it in more high regard because of that. I'm not sure how it compares to how other people see this episode.
Do you know what? I think that happens when we're kids. I think there's certain things what we remember. I'm not saying this is a bad episode, but when you're a kid, like sometimes things make a bigger impression on you.
Yeah,
and
I absolutely that's the thing. I hold this episode very dearly to my heart.
Oh, I like the idea of that.
Yeah, so because that's the thing. Story-wise, we start out with as we always do, a captain's log saying that they're picking up a not sort of usual an unusual passenger is what Captain Picard says, which to be honest I think is a bit presumptuous because at that point he wouldn't really know that Amanda is an unusual passenger.
Yeah, as much as I enjoy this, there's lots of things which, you know, the word spoiler probably wasn't used back in 1992, but there is plenty of spoilers here. You've got the fact that the episode's got fucking Q in the title. They always give it away with that.
Yeah.
TNG, as well as all the other Star Treks, always put their actors' names in the first 5 minutes of the show. So you're like, oh, okay, Garon's going to be in it today. Oh, Q's going to be in it today because John Delancey pops up.
Yeah.
But some of the stuff, what was going on with this girl, it's just like, you know, like Riker would have died, Geordi and Data would have been destroyed. You know, it's like...
Oh, that didn't bother me. That didn't bother me at all because it's like it's showing her in situations because
I know it's necessary for the story to show that this girl's got Q powers, but but it's just a bit coincidental that, you know, Riker would have died from a box falling on his head on the same day that Data and Geordi, these fucking computer geniuses, finally decide to screw up and blow up the whole ship.
Well, no, that one... No, I'm going to go against you on that one because that was actually a test by Q.
Oh, sorry, you're right. Yeah, but when you first watch it in those first 10 minutes, when
like,
Q's not coming...
it's really going wrong.
Yeah, it's like, why is that going that wrong? Like, something is amiss here. Like, something's going to happen. But obviously, if you're watching it, even as a kid, you're going to go like, oh, True Q. Is Q going to be in this?
Yeah, exactly. Getting ready to
even if you don't know who John Delancey
fix.
is at that time, it's still Q. Yeah. It's like, oh, okay.
Yeah, no, I understand where you're going because basically, Amanda Rogers is a student who's like got plenty of honours. She's the highest in her class. She's been given this great opportunity to come on board the Enterprise.
Do you know what? She would have been the perfect girlfriend for Wesley if he'd actually been in it at this point.
She would have been.
Yeah.
To be honest,
he would have loved her.
I haven't seen anything else with this actress in, but I really enjoy her. Yeah. Not only because like she's like, a pretty lady, but I enjoy the character.
Yeah, I don't know who the actress is either, but yeah, she does well in this role, definitely.
Yeah, that's the thing. She's she portrays Amanda as a very humble, caring, yet also like as the episode goes on and you see how she deals with Q, she don't take shit from anyone.
She doesn't, she puts him in his place at points, but at the same time, he does do his absolute best to manipulate her and twist her to his desires and needs.
Exactly. Because the first glimpse that we get of her using Q powers is just after Riker has shown her to her quarters, which could have ended very differently.
I kept thinking throughout the whole episode, I kept thinking that every time with Riker, like, it could have gone another way.
That's the thing. It's only probably because Captain Picard gave him strict orders.
Leave her alone, number one.
Best behaviour.
Yeah.
Put number 2 away.
Yeah.
No, and when just after he's shown her the quarters, she makes comment about how she could have brought her dogs with her.
Yeah.
And how she'd always wished that she had had more dogs than just 3. And then suddenly, there's a whole room full of puppies.
It's like something like 12 or 24 little puppies, yeah.
Yeah.
And then she wishes them away about like 2 at a time or something, I think.
Yeah, exactly. Like just like, oh, come on, don't do this to me, guys. Go on, shoot.
Yeah.
And you. And so that's your first glimpse of her using Q powers. And as you said, then and then she ends up going to sick bay where she's being mentored by Crusher. This is one of the episodes that I actually I always give Crusher a little bit of a hard time nowadays. But I always loved Crusher, but I think I'm much more critical of Crusher nowadays than what I used to be for some reason. I don't know.
I know what you mean. I'm very back and forth with that character as well.
But this episode, Crusher is I enjoy Crusher in this episode, being that mentor figure.
Yeah, it's admirable. She's trying to be nice, isn't she? She's trying to be helpful to this young lady.
Though I did think she was a bit blunt when Amanda just turns around and goes and asks her, so did you have any more children? After discussing about Wesley, she's like, did you have any more children? She's like, no, my husband died.
Yeah.
It's like, oh, she wasn't asking you for your fucking life story, love. Yeah. You could have just said, no, we just had the one.
Yeah.
But they do that for dialogue's sake, because then it introduces the dialogue of, oh, my parents died as well. I've never known my real parents, but obviously her adoptive parents were.
I think that's part of the good writing of this episode. I think the smart part of this episode is Amanda's parents.
Yeah, exactly, because Amanda's parents died when she was a baby, but she was raised by another set of parents who are both scientists, I think.
I would presume so, guessing the field that she's gone. She doesn't know what to do, does she? That's kind of why she's on the D.
No.
It's because she's good at everything she does, but she doesn't know what she wants to do.
No, she's gave herself quite a broad palette of stuff so that she's not dedicated to one field yet.
I will say that Picard, he's not in this episode much, is he? He just kind of comes on at the beginning to do his log, and then he says to her
interactions
something
with
along
Q's pretty much.
Oh yeah, of course he does. Anytime Q's there, he's going to be there, isn't he? Where he says to Q, like, let's just pretend to be. Oh, this is in a minute once he finds out. The nature of Amanda, like he says, let's pretend to be friends. Let's pretend to be civil. He says.
Yeah, exactly. Though, as you said earlier, at that point, then we cut to engineering. Amanda's down there. I can't remember what she was doing down there, and then all shit goes wrong, and they're going to have to eject the warp core because it's going to breach.
No, the first one before that is Riker in the whatever you call it. I can't think what you call it.
Oh, 1 second.
In the cargo bay, Riker's just sort of standing there looking at porn on his iPad while While a box is about to fall on his head from 12 feet above, and she just sort of flicks it out of the way, sort of Q slash Bewitched style, is what I thought when I was watching it.
That's the sort of feel that she gives you, like that she gives you the sort of Bewitched sort of feel.
Yeah.
You just expect her to sort of wiggle her nose.
Yeah, that's what I kept imagining every time she sort of flaps her arms about.
Yeah, no, definitely. And what I would say, though, what I thought was quite, what I thought was quite a good commentary for nowadays, watching this episode back. I don't know if you noticed, dude, but basically the Enterprise is on a mission to help a planet who is trying to use barostatic filters to get rid of the pollution out of their air.
Yeah.
Because their atmosphere has become so polluted that it's damaging the biosphere and all life on the planet. So they are setting up barostatic filters, and but also one of the side effects is some form of radiation or ionization. I think it was.
Yeah.
Ionization. So the Enterprise was basically going to help set up these filters, but there was a nice. I'm trying to remember what the quote is from Amanda in that episode, because she does turn around and make a comment of, why would a species allow their planet to become so polluted that they need this technology? Surely
it's sad, isn't it, to think about how much that
yeah, because she turns around and says, rather than using the barostatic filters, why couldn't they just stop emitting stop emitting pollutants? And we're now at a stage where global warming is so prominent. Our science is coming back and saying, "You're fucked. You're fucked. You're fucked."
I mean, your kids are all quite young, but I've got one very young child and one who's 12. It's so hard to explain to a 12-year-old why our planet is doing the things that it does, and why, without saying too much, why leaders are being elected as leaders right now. It's just fucking crazy. It's so... When you can't understand or explain something yourself, why that's happening, it's so hard to explain to your children, like, why this is happening, because it doesn't make sense.
It doesn't.
But that's another pod for another time. That's us going crazy about the world pod.
Yeah, and I just thought that I can't remember what the exact quote is, and I'm gonna find it out and I'm gonna make it a meme.
Yeah, sure.
Because it is so relevant.
I bet.
It was such a foresight. It was just like, why are they doing this? And they could have been talking about Earth.
Yeah.
The way that we're treating it, and when I heard that, I was just like, there you go. I don't know if that passed you by at all, dude, or...
No, I don't think so, but I think a lot of Star Trek from 60s to the 90s, you could say it's sort of, what do they say? It's preaching to the converted, where we understand it. We're like, yeah, that totally makes sense. That totally coincides with what's happening today, or 20 years ago, or 10 years ago.
Mm-hmm.
But to some of the people that are making this stuff happen and continue, that they either don't understand or they don't care, they don't think about this stuff, and it's so sad. But yeah, like I say, that's another pod or another video for another time. But
and I agree with what you're saying. It's a question of it is preaching to the converted when it comes to Star Trek, because most people feel along similar lines who do watch Star Trek. But I just felt that even though that would have been a relevant commentary for back then, I think it's even more relevant
Yeah.
in today's climate.
Yeah, which it makes me love Trek more, but yeah, as we've said, it's crazy, isn't it? How relevant some of these storylines are to us right now.
No, definitely, absolutely, definitely. And then we cut to the warp core breach, everything going crazy, and then just as Geordie's about to evacuate engineering because they need to eject the core.
Yeah.
The warp core actually breaches and starts emitting all of the plasma or whatever it is inside it, at which point Amanda is able to hold it back like just with her hands, her thoughts, and it actually ends up repairing itself.
Yeah.
Which obviously isn't normal.
No. This is where, if you hadn't realised it before, she's got Q powers going on, clearly.
That's it. And then we cut to our obligatory observation lounge scene from TNG. There's always got to be an observation lounge scene.
Yeah.
It's where most of our dialogue comes from.
Can I just say, in this episode, I think, without saying too much, I think Crusher Beverly looks like how I most identify her as looking in TNG, if that makes sense. But Troy looks mental with her hair. Yes. She looks like she just got out of the shower and she forgot to dry her hair and it's just gone crazy.
It's ultra perm.
Yeah, it's like, you look normal in 1987, but it's 1992 now, and now it looks like you're in 1986. If that makes sense.
It's one of them weird points because, like, season 7, she goes back to it being a bit, even though it's like wavy, it's still a bit more free.
Yeah, someone said, right now, look, we're going to be doing some movies soon, so you need to calm that hair down.
Yeah,
it's the 90s.
Yeah, no. It's ultra frizz.
I think definitely. A lot of 90s TV programs, especially with wrestling, you'll all identify with this. Like, it took them a while to realize what the 90s was. Like, from like 1990 to 1992, a lot of programs and wrestling programs were like
still in the 80s.
Very much stuck in the 80s. Yeah.
Yeah.
So obviously some. I don't know if you call it costume designer. What would you call it? Hair designer. Someone was like, "This will look
hair and makeup."
Yeah, this will look great on you.
Yeah, exactly.
I wonder what Marina Sirtis said about that at that time.
Yeah, well, that's the thing. But as you said,
I look even worse than I did 5 years ago. What are you doing?
Are you sure this looks futuristic?
Yeah.
You sure this isn't retro?
Yeah.
No. Retro's back in the 24th century.
Luckily, Troy doesn't have too much of a role in this episode, so she's not going to be too embarrassed about this.
Prominent. But, but you're right. Crusher does look. Whenever I think of Crusher in TNG, this is how I always remember Crusher.
Well, yeah, I'm dissing Troy's haircut, but Beverly has some crazy haircuts over the years. But I guess that's what definitely. I was trying to say. Is this is her best look?
Yeah,
this sort of time.
Definitely. At that point, Q jumps in, reveals that Amanda's a Q, and that he intends to be taking her back to the Continuum.
Yes.
Beverly then passes on the news to Amanda as softly as she can.
Yeah.
At which point she's like, well, that explains shit, because things have been going crazy recently. And
yeah, it's weird. You've got to wonder, how long has that been going on for? Surely it can't have just started today on the
No,
day.
apparently it had been building up over recent time. But there was no signs of it when she was younger.
Also, they never actually... Well, I don't think they really say this for anyone on TNG, but they never say how old she is, Amanda. I'm not really sure of that.
I always assumed she was probably around the 20-ish mark.
Yeah, that's what I thought. Between 18, 21, sort of. She's done her college stuff. She's sort of like in university type age.
yeah, she was now at a point where she could go and join Starfleet Academy.
Yeah.
So yeah, I assumed she was always around that mark, though no definitive sort of answer. Because, well, let's face it, you don't have to be of a certain age to go to the academy, because Nog does it like at a slightly older age as well.
Oh, it's confusing with Nog though, isn't it? With him like whatever it is, like a 27-year-old playing a
At first,
15-year-old,
14-year-old, or yeah, no, definitely. So at that point, Q introduces himself in probably the most space invading kind of way. Let's look up your nostrils, love.
He does that all episode long. He really does. It's I mean, we love Q. I still love Q, but he's pretty creepy in this episode.
Yeah.
With Amanda, he's really getting in her face and anything he can get.
Yeah, no, that's it. He's definitely Space Invader Q
this
episode.
Yeah.
But he is stereotypical Q.
Oh yeah.
And that's the thing. When in the boardroom, just before Q had zapped him and Picard back to the ready room, and said that he's taken her, and Picard says, "Well, I'll introduce you to her," and he said, and that's when you get that scene that you had said earlier about them being
civil.
Q goes, buddies.
Yeah.
He's like, so I was thinking more civil.
I think this is probably the calmest those two have ever been together, really, isn't it? Picard and Q.
Yeah, I think so.
The most chilled out they've ever been in each other's presence, and I like it. I don't think there is a bad Q episode, is there, really?
No, I don't think so.
But this is probably, out of all the episodes, I'd probably guess that this is the nicest they've ever been to each other, even though Picard, through Data, finds out some pretty nasty stuff.
I would say
it's not QQ's fault, but it's the Q Continuum's fault, which we find out soon after.
Yes.
Yeah,
exactly. Because basically, Amanda, at first, Q says, "Well, you're coming back to the Continuum with us." Grabs her hand, and Amanda says no, and flicks him off back to the other side of the room.
Yeah, chucks him across to the other side of the room would be.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
And I do like Q's comment of, "Oh, she's a little Spitfire, isn't she?"
Yeah.
So so obviously she's shown that she doesn't want to go back to the Continuum, though Q does like almost like also sort of co-mentor her, where Beverly has been mentoring her like with science and Starfleet and everything, and
can I just say before we forget, because it's easily forgettable if we go too fast too soon, I love the fact that Q turns Beverly Crusher into a dog for about 5 seconds in this episode, and she doesn't even realise that it's happened.
No, that's it.
I did find that very enjoyable.
Beverly goes off on one of her rants.
Yeah, and then in the middle of the rant, it's just like, and then she just finishes it and doesn't realise it's even happening. She's like, yeah, fair enough.
Yeah, couldn't argue.
Yeah.
No, I do like that scene as well.
Yeah.
And I think many men can watch that scene and go, "Oh, I associate that."
I'm going to put in a request for our YouTube channel, if you can find it. Oh, no, it's not if you can find it, because you do screen grabs. Put that as the picture for the YouTube video.
I will do.
Q
I'll make
talking
that
to
the
a
thumbnail
dog.
for it.
Yeah, thumbnail. That's it. I couldn't think of it. Yeah.
Yeah. No, definitely.
Cool.
So, at which point?
Where are we? Data finds out about her. That's what I was alluding to. Data finds out about her parents being killed by a tornado, which was completely random. There was no other tornado type weather around it.
Because at that point, Earth has got a weather modification network, which basically disperses any major weather events.
So between Data and Picard, they work out that must have been a Q continuum intervention to kill the parents. And we didn't say earlier on in the episode, but the parents were Q members which chose to pose as humans. Is that right? For a while.
I think you end up finding around this sort of point, or just a teeny bit earlier. But yeah, they were two members of the Q who decided that they wanted to leave the continuum, and Q couldn't understand why, because they basically wanted to live life as humans. Which, to be honest, I would have.
I think it's fair enough. It's almost like a long holiday, isn't it? They just wanted to see what it was like. Which Q, you know, the guy we know as Q, he mucks around with that all the time.
Yeah, I don't understand the issue here, because Qs are omnipotent.
Mm-hmm.
As we develop the Qs, you find out that they pretty much they live forever. They have no beginning. They have no end. They just live. So I would assume that that Qs have just taken time to have a lifetime in pretty much every single species that's ever existed throughout the universe.
That's it. When you think about it, our Q, the guy we know as Q, John Delancey, he's a bit of a hypocrite in a way in this episode. Because he loves being a human. He loves chatting and teasing his good buddy Picard.
Yeah.
So why shouldn't Amanda's parents?
Yeah, and yes, I don't understand why they would be considered outcasts. But also, I don't. This is another bit of a philosophical question, I guess. But being that they're Qs, and Qs have no concept of time, there is no beginning, there is no end.
Yeah.
Surely Amanda's parents would already be aware of their fate before they even decide to leave the continuum.
Yeah, these are some odd questions, because skipping to the end, sort of, Amanda says at the end, we'll get there eventually, but she's going to go and talk to her parents now.
Oh no, she was going to talk to that would have been her adoptive parents.
Oh, sorry. Okay.
That would have been her adoptive parents.
But yeah, you're right about what you say. It doesn't make too much sense, does it? Why would they just accept that if they knew that was coming?
Yeah, because that's the thing. If you know all of the future and all of the past and everything in between, then you would already have known your own fate.
Or maybe they wanted that because, you know, it's Voyager, isn't it? Where you have a suicidal Q who's just done.
Quinn.
He just wants to go, doesn't he?
Yeah.
So maybe they were the same, where they were just happy to end their lives as humans and produce a human/Q, and they sort of already knew her future and just thought,
yeah, but
we're happy with that. Maybe
I don't think that would have been the case, because at that point, Q later explains that that her parents were given the choice that they could live as humans, but they couldn't use any of their Q powers, and that is why they were executed.
Because they made the wrong choice in the Q's eyes.
Well, no, I'm not sure if it's a question of maybe they had used their powers at some point.
Well, I can't remember that being said, but the fact that you said that makes me think that they must have picked the human side, or how did they get killed?
Well, that's the thing. They picked the human side to live as humans, but then inevitably, because I think even Q says they couldn't resist not using their powers. So because they used their powers, the Continuum used that as an excuse to kill them.
Oh, okay. I didn't pick up on that.
So it's a question of with so with that, they're obviously not really human. Otherwise, they would have been stripped of their powers, like they stripped Q of his powers in was it season 2 or 3? When he joins the crew because the crew because he's become human.
I'm just saying, if I had the opportunity to become Q, I'd do it immediately.
Oh yeah, no, dude, and I would too, because that's watching this episode so many times on VHS. It was one of the episodes that I always got my imagination of what. Like I would have gave anything to have suddenly been able to make something appear. So
Definitely.
yeah, no, I would have. No, who wouldn't want to be have that sort of
in this
power?
day and age? How much good could you do for yourself and your family, but the world as well?
Exactly, and that's the sort of thing when Q is mentoring her. He pretty much portrays it as you could have your heart's desires. As a Q, you could have whatever you want. Where her mindset is very much of, well, I could help people.
Yeah.
Which is obviously a very human way of thinking about things. Though what I assume is after she rejoins the Q eventually, I'm assuming that she just went full Q and now doesn't give a fuck because so much bad shit happens to humans.
We don't see her after this, do we?
No, we never see her after this. It's an absolute bottle episode.
Yeah. Wasted storyline.
Well, it's a question of, because let's face it, if she did become this caring Q, all of the bad things that then happens to the Federation here on out, she would just stop.
Yeah. Yeah, Cisco could have just been a nice, casual guy in DS9.
Yeah,
Dominion
exactly.
War, that's no big deal. We've got Amanda to help us out.
That's it. Every single time that something's gone wrong or there's a natural disaster, should just pop
Captain
in, wave
Janeway
her fingers,
in Voyager. Oh, we're fine. Amanda will get us home.
Yeah,
she's a nice girl.
Yeah. So, which, to be honest, may have made dull viewing for the rest of Trek. But still, so I'm just assuming she went full Q afterwards.
Yeah, I guess so. Yeah. It's hard not to, though, is it? With all the temptations that he lays down.
Either that, or the Continuum end up killing her.
He did say it many times throughout that episode. If she doesn't join us,
if she doesn't join us, she will be executed.
Yeah. So you don't know, do you?
No, that's the thing. You never know that if she doesn't adhere to what is expected of a Q, that she, like, after returning, could have easily been executed, and that's why she doesn't come back and save the day countless times. Just depends whether you want to think that she turned into an arsehole or whether she was killed.
Yeah.
That's really what happens at the end of this episode.
Yeah. You can't say any more than that, really, can you? That really is.
No. So yeah, pretty much the rest of the episode. One scene that we've got to touch on is because obviously it's been insinuated more and more throughout the episode that Amanda had a crush on Riker.
Oh yeah, we skipped over that. That was one of the bits where I was saying, like, in real life, I think Riker would have been a lot more naughty in the scene that you're about to mention.
Yeah, no, I think he definitely was under strict orders from Picard.
Yeah.
There's no other reason why he would
If he hadn't been under orders from Picard, he would have just been like, yeah, sod it. Yeah, why not? Yeah, I mean, some holodeck simulation type thing.
Free love and all that.
she's got him out. That's it. Yeah, I'm ready to go.
That's it. I doubt it would have took that much convincing.
No, I don't think so. No, she sort of puts a spell on him for a moment, saying, "Oh, I'm going to make you be in love with me." But I think he would have been there already, don't Riker?
I don't think she really did put a spell on him. I think he was just playing along.
Okay.
But yeah, no, she ultimately he's
very handy in that scene as well. Like, his hands don't match up with what his mouth is saying in that scene. I noticed. It's like, "Oh, you're just a young lady, you know. We can't do this," but it's like his hands are saying something completely different. Like, "Oh, these are nice."
Yeah. Yeah, no, definitely. Oh dear. So, yeah, well, that's the thing. As I said earlier, Q ends up giving Amanda the same choice as her parents. Either she can live as a human and never use her powers, or she can go back to the Continuum and join them. She chooses to be a human. However, it soon turns out that the planet that they are at, one of the barostatic filters is going wrong, and it's basically going to kill a good few thousand people. At which point, Amanda uses her powers to save those people, and also get rid of all of the pollution from the atmosphere.
Yeah.
So she fixes everything, and at which point Q says, "Well, you've made your choice," and she admits she can't live as a human.
I kind of feel like the whole episode was going towards that anyway. When you look at it,
yeah.
Which,
yeah,
you know, I feel like I'd be the same, to be honest. Like, if you've got those opportunities in front of you, why wouldn't you take them? You don't have to go mental. You don't have to go crazy and tease some Starfleet captain. You know, you can do a lot of good with those powers, can't you?
Yeah, you can. Though, as we've said before, the Continuum wouldn't look fondly upon that.
Well, we'll never know, will we? Because they didn't show it.
No, exactly. So, all in all, dude, did you enjoy the episode?
I did enjoy the episode, yeah. I thought it was a fun episode. Simple but fun.
Yeah, that's the thing. There's nothing too mind-bending about this episode.
No.
There's nothing too mind-bending about this episode, and I feel as you do. I think, well, to be honest, I absolutely love this episode. It just gives me all of the right warm, nostalgic feelings.
Do you know what?
I get.
I was suggesting something else for a thumbnail earlier on. What was I saying? Crusher is the dog.
Yes.
If it actually existed, I would say put a picture of yourself, like at 12 years old, holding your first TNG VHS up. If that existed, I'd say put that up instead.
I wish it existed.
Yeah.
I wish it existed.
I love this.
Because that's the thing, I still remember going to the store, getting that VHS.
Yeah.
Watching those 2 episodes countlessly, considering that's the thing, back in the day, 2 episodes used to cost you $10.
Yeah, it's amazing how VHS got so much money out of us kids back in the day.
Mm-hmm.
For so little actual footage.
Yeah, no, definitely. Well, the constraints of the technology that we was given.
Yeah.
But still, we're in better times when it comes to media now.
Yeah.
So yeah, no, absolutely love this episode. And if for some reason if this one's gone under your radar, if you enjoy Q episodes, it's definitely up there. It's not a bad Q episode. It's a good Q episode.
I honestly, I'm going on record as saying I don't think there is bad Q episodes. Is there really?
No, not really.
No.
I would say his worst episode is his DS9 appearance.
Yeah, that's fair.
Yeah, I would say that probably is, because let's face it, fucking the whole Cisco Punch thing is a bit strange.
It is, but I like it as well, because it is sort of saying, like, you worked great in that program, but this is a different program, so fuck off. Get out of my program.
And that's why he only appeared once.
Exactly, yeah. So, to me, it's fine.
Yeah. Yeah, so, no, definitely, if you enjoy Q, check the episode out. I'd love to hear anybody else's thoughts.
Me too.
About this episode, so make sure that you leave them in the comments below, and remember to like, favourite and subscribe. Do all of the YouTubes. We appreciate your support. So that's it for this episode. I've been Wayne Emery.
I've been Jude Hawkins, and that was another Trekmate review.